Welcome to today's news on TV9. I'm Ada Cho. In today's local news, the governments have saved millions of dollars from student loan changes, and the public spending on Fashion Week has been criticised with concerns about its future survivability. And a study of university students throughout the country reviews the risky sexual behaviour. The Animal Welfare Act is under review, and Kiwis are advocating for better legal system and rights for their animal counterparts. Keisha has more.
The Animal Welfare Act 99 is currently under review. Needless to say, charity groups like SPCA, WSPA and SAFE are advocating for all animals that don't have a voice.
The problem is that it's, the way that the law is set up is that it's not actually working very well.
Formerly known as the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry for Primary Industries is currently responsible for animal welfare. Unfortunately, its primary focus is on improved farming and economic growth, which leaves animal welfare at the bottom of the list with no proper funding.
I think the only real chance of improvement is to take animal welfare seriously enough that it's not part of the Ministry for Primary Industries. It's not really about economics or about farming. They actually have their own needs.
According to SAFE, New Zealand is already 15 years behind EU in terms of animal welfare, and battery cages are already banned across the ditch.
What SAFE would really focus on is examples of cruelty that are legal, such as factory farming. So the key issue, for example, battery cages for hens, it's actually to do with economics, and it's the cheapest way to produce eggs, and that's why we use cages at the moment. There's also acts of cruelty, so the slaughter of 32 dogs recently, it was about a month ago, or the sentencing was about a month ago. So that was described as a massacre by the SPCA, and they got community service. For a serious crime of cruelty against animals, SAFE would like to see proper sentencing.
SAFE and WSPA have posted their submissions to the Ministry for Primary Industries on their website and are receiving positive responses from the public. Kay Chow, 9 News.
The government has made several changes over the years which have saved millions of dollars in student loan, increasing the value of the student loan book, and students would like to see more changes to repayment scheme.
This year, the government have made changes to loan repayments for students, including raising the compulsory repayment rate from 10 cents to 12 cents per dollar earned, and encouraging students to pay voluntarily by offering them a 10% discount. These changes have assisted the government in reducing the cost of student loans from 48 cents to 39 cents per dollar. However, with the significant achievement, students with a loan would like to see some changes to loan repayments.
We want to see more changes that would affect the students later on. Something like we don't need to repay our student loan until we have a proper full-time job, and lowering the repayment back down to maybe 10 cents for every dollar earned.
There are currently 162,000 New Zealanders unemployed. With the amount of people unemployed, graduates worry about their future.
Let alone it's recession, and there aren't many job opportunities at the moment, so it's hard to live right now.
Currently in New Zealand, about 82% of full-time tertiary students are already in debt before they even have a proper job. Amy Feng, 9 News.
The Ministry of Education has confirmed 5,000 staffs have been underpaid and 15 not at all in the first round of the new school payroll system. The 30 million system, NovelPay, was launched at the end of last month and processes the pay of 90,000 school staffs. The ministry said those who were underpaid would be paid and areas were just teething problems. This year's New Zealand Fashion Week has come to a close amid concerns about its future survivability. Facing pressure from critics of public spending on the events, the council body responsible for tourism and events finally released the sponsorship figure last Friday. Chrissy Zhao reports.
The 2012 New Zealand Fashion Week took its curtain call yesterday amid questions about its smallest ever lineup and criticism of public funding on the event. Auckland Councillor Cameron Brewer called for accountability and transparency, saying already stretched out ratepayers needed to know where their money was being spent. In response, AT, the council body responsible for tourism and events, released its sponsorship fee for the event as $225,000.
Well, look, we really want to be transparent. There were some commercial sensitivities about releasing the figure, but we discussed that with the New Zealand Fashion Week organisers, and we agreed that it was in the public interest to make the figure available. And once we'd done that,
Net economic return of the event for Auckland was estimated to be close to $700,000, with over 6,000 domestic and international visitor nights in the city as a direct result. AT Chief Executive Brett O'Reilly says despite concerns about Fashion Week's future, funding for the event will still be considered.
we welcome applications from any event organisers that meet the criteria within the major event strategy. Clearly, New Zealand Fashion Week has been an iconic event for Auckland, so it would be sad to see it pass. But we'll look at an application in 2013, along with applications from other events, and we'll evaluate those against our criteria and see which ones stack up.
But many big-name designers had already chosen not to return, and small labels were struggling to afford the entry fees. So with its relevance in question, it remains to be seen whether New Zealand Fashion Week will continue to make as substantial a contribution to Auckland as it once did. Christy Zhao, 9 News.
Licensing inspectors have been trying to reduce abuses of alcohol and alcohol harm, and are suggesting that a minimum price to inexpensive alcohol, such as beer and RTDs, should be included in the Alcohol Reform Bill. Amy Fung reports.
The Alcohol Reform Bill was introduced for licensing inspectors. However, Institute President Marie Clearwater did not think that the bill is complete unless it has addressed all causes of alcohol abuse, in particular low alcohol prices. Clearwater said, if we look at the abuses of alcohol, they look for price, they look for availability, they look for high alcohol volume, and they look for drinkability. Currently, legislation allows all those 4 items to be there. Clearwater wants the ministry to set a minimum price to cheap alcohol, such as beers and RTDs, raising the price to around $10 to $12 each. But prices for higher quality alcohol will remain the same. However, Justice Minister Judith Collins did not include minimum pricing in the bill, but have asked the ministry to investigate into overseas schemes instead, as she does not want reasonable drinkers to be penalised. Amy Feng, 9 News.
A warning has been issued about fake phone calls telling people they're eligible for a tax refund. Inland Revenue says so, speaking the calls are claiming to offer a refund on the condition that people make an upfront direct payment to a bank account via Western Union. A spokeswoman said if anyone has replied to those behind the scam and given their money or personal details, should contact the bank immediately. A national survey of university students reviews risky sexual behaviour among young people. Advocates say better education is needed to change indifferent attitude to safe sex. Christy Zhao reports.
Indifference to safe sex is a problem among young people. A new study on university students found 20% of people surveyed had 3 or more sex partners in the past year. 26% said they last had sex with someone they just met, and no condoms were used during those encounters. Only 54% of respondents use a condom when they last had sex, an even lower rate than that of a study group of high school students in 2000.
Many people, probably the majority of people, know that if they use a condom, it will keep them safe from STIs and from pregnancy. But people aren't going that next step to actually using condoms.
Apart from increased exposure to sexually transmitted diseases, 1 in 20 students has had or caused an unintentional pregnancy, and more than 2/3 of those pregnancies were terminated. New Zealand AIDS Foundation's Sean Robinson says sexuality is part of people's lives, but more needs to be done to equip people with the knowledge and will to limit the risks.
We really do not have a comprehensive approach to sexual health in New Zealand, and we haven't got a comprehensive promotion of safe sex within New Zealand, and consequently we're getting this kind of risky behaviour.
Alcohol can also be a factor in students' sexual behavior, especially when they make risky choices. Experts say more studies are needed to develop better intervention strategies. Christy Zhao, 9 News.
Auckland Regional Public Health Services has reported 5 cases of meningococcal disease in the past week. Keisha has more.
Winter and spring are the seasons where meningococcal disease comes up to the surface. The Auckland Regional Public Health Service is aware of 5 confirmed cases in the past week.
This year so far we've had 16 cases of meningococcal disease notified to our service in Auckland. That compares to 23 people notified to us in the same time last year. Last year we've had 1 death in Auckland. This year we've had no deaths so far.
Meningococcal disease is a serious illness and can be life-threatening if not recognised and treated early.
Because the initial symptoms are very much like the common cold or the flu.
The disease can rapidly become worse and people may experience some or all of the following symptoms: fever, sensitive to bright lights, stiff neck, muscle aches and pain, rash and sleepiness in adults. As for children, they might be difficult to wake up from sleep, vomiting and refuse to feed.
At the moment we have no reason to believe that they are linked, and we've looked very carefully to make certain as best we can that this is not part of what we believe to be an outbreak.
Babies, children and young adults are most at risk, so keep them closely monitored and if in doubt, always see a doctor. Kay Chow, 9 News.
Now we have our TV9 host from Asia Focus, Julie Nixon, to talk about Aussies are considering lifting Kiwi spud ban.
Over the years, New Zealand and Australia have had an uneasy relationship when it comes to agricultural products. Don't forget that for 90 years our apples were banned from being exported to Australia, and that decision to allow the imported kiwi apples into Australia, we needed to go all the way to the WTO to get that lifted, and that was only a short time ago. The more recent development is the possible uplift of the 24-year ban on our potatoes. So the prospect of our spuds going into Australia has upset quite a few, including Odds Veg, which represents the 9,000 vegetable growers in Australia. They're basically saying they don't want our potatoes because they've got this disease, this zebra chip disease, which was the reason they were banned in the first place. There's even a video of a very young Julia Gillard, who's now the Prime Minister of Australia, basically saying if the kiwi potatoes come into Australia, that's the end of the industry. It's going to be a blight on the industry. And there was also a shot of her playing Space Invaders, keeping our spuds out, knocking the spuds as they came down. So a little bit of angst, I would say, a little bit of controversy in Australia. The authorities there looking at lifting the ban after 24 years. The other context of this is that, of course, Australia is our largest trading partner, much bigger than even China, so it's our #1 trading partner, and really no other trading partner comes close in terms of dollars or volumes. And I guess the potato business, quite a small sort of prospect really in the overall context of things. However, it looks like it's good news if those potatoes are allowed to be exported to Australia, from New Zealand to Australia. That's going to give a fillip to growers in this country, having such a big market on our doorstep. We're still just waiting for that decision. We'll wait and see. Let's just hope it doesn't cause too much furore for the Aussies, and let's hope that that zebra disease, that zebra chip disease, which was the reason they were banned all those years ago, let's just hope that's gone. And one of the explanations as to how they would avoid any such prospect of the zebra chip disease, just basically wash the potatoes. Seems like an interesting and easy solution.